Hello crafty friends, working in my scrappy art journal today. This will be part of my YUK to Yum series where I show you how to take unloved art and turn it into something new. I always start with my background first. And for this background I want to use some printed tissue paper, so I'm making it myself. I just have regular white tissue paper, the type that you would use for gift wrapping, and I'm using a permanent black ink and a stamp. The stamp is an acrylic stamp that is like words from a dictionary with a definition. And I just stamp that on and then leave it to dry. I want a bit of a pink in the background, and I'm going to use this piece of scrap cardstock that has got these pink splotches with a little bit of blue and different colors, and I'm just going to tear that down to size and glue it onto the pages. It doesn't have to fit exactly. This is a scrappy art journal, so the pages are not the same size. Most of them are just torn with a ruler and they don't have neat edges. That's just my style. Using a glue stick, putting the glue stick all over the pages really well, especially in the center, and then I'm going to press down the paper over the top. I'm now going to stick my printed tissue paper over this background paper. I'm going to use Mod Podge because that is my favorite medium for doing this, but you don't have to use Mod Podge. You could use craft glue or gel medium or even a glue stick. And yes, we did just cover up the beautiful colors of the background paper that we've just stuck down, but that's okay. We don't want the colors to be bright and bold. We want them to be pushed into the background, so the tissue paper softens the overall look. But you can still see the colors shining through. I'm applying a layer of Mod Podge over the tissue paper too. This is to waterproof it so that I could add color medium later if I decide. I'm not always sure exactly what I'm going to do, but I like to prep my surfaces so I can do any medium. Trimming off the excess, again very roughly. It doesn't have to be neat and tidy. I like mine rather rustic. But if you like neater edges, by all means use a scissors. And here is my unloved art that I want to make into something else. Working on the back side and using a pencil, I'm just roughly drawing some petal shapes. I'm just cutting one petal to start, just so I can gauge the size and see if I need it a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller. Once I'm happy with the size, I'm just going to trace very roughly over the petal and cut quite a few. I'm not sure yet how many I'll need. I haven't really counted or estimated, so I'm going to cut a few and see how we go. If you don't have any unloved art for this part, you could also use a piece of cardstock or even pieces of magazine paper. This would be a great way to use up scrapbooking paper scraps or any cardstock scraps that you have. If you only have one or two little pieces, each petal can be a different color. Once all my petals are cut, I'm going to start placing them down. But before I do that, I'm going to add a little bit of white gesso over some areas of the background to lighten it even more, because I really want the petals to pop off the page and not drown in the background if it's too busy or too bright. And then I start placing my petals and go all the way around into a flower shape. They're not going to fit exactly. I do want some of the petals to be falling off the page, which I will trim later. So on the right hand side, I'm sort of doing a half a flower on the top right hand corner, or maybe more of a quarter. And then on the left, more of a fuller flower, but the left hand side, the petals will be cut off a little bit. I don't want it on center and fitting in. Then for the centers, I'm just finding something that is sort of roughly the size that I want the centers to be, and then I'm cutting those out on black cardstock. I want to add some detail in the centers, so I'm going to use some watered down white acrylic paint in my fine tip applicator bottle and just do some scribbles and some little dots and lines around the circle. Nothing specific, just make some designs that you like. Once you're happy with the placement of your petals, we're going to start sticking everything down. I'm using a clear craft glue. It gives me a few moments to move things around if I decide to change my mind or if placement isn't great. I would really love if you subscribed to my channel. I do art journaling, junk journals, and of course this is home of the Full Deck Challenge. While you're subscribing, don't forget to hit the little bell so you're notified every time I upload new content. Once all the petals are stuck, we're going to stick in the centers. You could also leave it like this with the petals overhanging on the page. Generally, I like things hanging off my page, but for this, I want to cut the flowers because I want that cut off look where it's not the entire flower, if that makes sense. But if you want to leave everything spilling over with the extra petal hanging over the edge, that's perfectly fine too. At this point, I'm feeling that the flowers are still not popping off the page. They're sort of getting lost a little bit in the background. So I'm thinking to edge the petals with some black. I'll start with a watercolor pencil. It is not working great and it's just not really making it pop. So I'm going to move to my watered down acrylic paint in my fine tip applicator bottle and go all the way around. I want something that's a bit bolder and has a stronger contrast. And as I'm putting this down, I'm really loving it and it's working great. These fine tip applicator bottles are available in most places. They're available on eBay, on Amazon. I get mine from a $2 shop where I buy some of my craft supplies from, but I have seen them readily available in quite a few crafty shops. Actually, Dina Wakely also has some fine tip points that you can actually screw onto the acrylic paint tubes that she has. Now, you won't be obviously using the acrylic paint watered down. It'll be directly from the tube, so it'll be of a thicker consistency, but you get some really beautiful effects. And it really is a fun technique. That is looking much better. I'm loving the flowers now. I'm going to use a black fine liner pen and do a frame all the way around the page, about 2 or 3 millimeters in from the edge, and of course not going over the petals. I'm going behind the petals. Now I found this set of wooden stamps at Kmart here in Australia. It was just, I think, $5 for the set. There are some inks. The inks are not great, I'll be honest, but I love the font of these stamps, so I'm going to use them for this project. I'm using my permanent black ink, and I'm just using a piece of paper first just to work on the spacing of the letters that I'm going to use. I'm going to print the word inspire, so I'm just doing it on a scrap paper first just so I can be sure it's going to fit in the space that I want. And just to give it a pop of color, there where I'm going to be stamping the word inspire, I want to add a little bit of pink. There is some pink in the petals that I've cut, difficult to see on the video, but I want to bring that color out a bit. So I'm going to use some pink, bright pink ink, and I'm just going to splash it over the bottom right hand corner where my word is going to go. Once that's nice and dry, I'm going to go ahead and do my stamping. I'm really loving the bright pink and I want to incorporate a little bit more of it in the petals. So I'm just using a bright pink Posca pen and doing some marks on some of the petals. I really hope you enjoyed this YUK to Yum video and seeing how I used a piece of unloved art to make something new. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. Really hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe. Happy creating, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.